Hello and welcome to the next part of my Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers journey. In the last parts we have finished finding Alize and Alphino, and now it is time to become the Warrior of Darkness and save the people of the Forest.
And so you return. Have you gained a better understanding of the crisis now faced by the First?
Better is not the word I would use. Some lands may have been spared the flood, but the survivors live only to suffer. There seems no end to the horrors inflicted by the Sin Eaters.
Indeed. Those abominations are a calamity in their own right. And I can well imagine how hopeless the task of eradicating them must seem to you. But after countless battles and untold sacrifice, we have identified a potential weakness. Sin Eaters are drawn to serve the strongest of their kind, a class of creature we call Light Wardens. And from what we have been able to ascertain, only a handful of these entities exist. Just as an ant colony will perish in the absence of its queen, we believe that the death of a Light Warden will cause the lesser creatures within its sphere of influence to disperse.
I have a feeling Yulmul might have something to say about any concerted action we take against these monsters. Vorthra's command over the Sin Eaters is integral to Yulmoran society. In seeming to guarantee his people's safety, it guarantees their obedience. He will not take kindly to us depriving him of such useful allies.
Agreed. Thus we will need to occupy or otherwise divert his forces whilst we proceed with the business of eliminating the Wardens. Until we have done so, all other considerations must be set aside if we are to forestall the 8th Umbral Calamity. Your uncertainty is understandable, given the circumstances. Perhaps a more detailed explanation is in order. To begin at the beginning, then. In the ancient past, a single star was divided into 14 worlds. This is the source, your home. These others are the 13 shards, in whose number we find the first. Though physically separate, they retain a connection to each other, and with the source especially. Now, let us assume that a given element in one of the shards attains abnormal ascendancy. Just as water will flow from the highest point to the lowest, the excess energy will begin trickling into the source. And such an influx of ether will of course exert a palpable influence. If the element in question were fire, then drought and wildfires might ensue. If it were ice, one might expect the weather to turn bitterly cold. As ether continues to pour in, such phenomena will become more and more extreme, until eventually, a single, untimely event triggers a disaster which cracks the barrier dividing the two worlds. What was once a trickle now becomes a deluge, sweeping the shard along to be rejoined with the source. At the same time, the element which held sway in the shard is unleashed in full, its energies amplifying the original disaster to truly catastrophic proportions. An earthquake thus magnified might strike with enough force to shatter continents. A tidal wave might swell to a size capable of drowning entire nations. These devastating events are what we refer to as umbral calamities. 7 times has a calamity befallen the source. 7 times has a shard been absorbed. At present, the light-drowned realm of the First stands perilously close to meeting the conditions for a rejoining. It is the Sin Eaters who are to blame for the Light's continued dominance. In addition to attracting their lesser kin, the Light Wardens I mentioned earlier radiate ether, saturating every corner of their territory with light. Even here in the flood-spared region of Northrend, their influence is strong enough to banish night from the sky. Thus, if we are to restore balance to the First and head off a potential calamity, it is imperative that we put each and every Light Warden to the sword.
We've been doing our best to take the fight to the enemy ever since we first heard the Exarch's explanation.
Though we have yet to claim any meaningful victories if truth be told. Apart from being confoundingly elusive, the Light Wardens possess a troublesome quality which compelled us to delay our plans until such time as you arrived.
Forgive the interruption, my lord, but Holminster Switch is requesting reinforcements. They say the Sin Eaters are attacking in force, and the village could soon be overrun.
Alert the guard. We should be prepared in case the fighting reaches the Crystarium. You have command of our forces in the field, Captain, but hold off on entering the town until I arrive. That goes for Alphino and Alize as well.
My lord.
Pray, lend us your strength. Such a fight will provide you with far greater insight than any explanation I could offer.
Off we go to save a village, which will be our very first dungeon. Actually, I really liked in this expansion that whenever we would go somewhere, there would be one of the NPCs would guide us along. Please walk this way, please walk that way, please fly over the other way, you know? I actually really liked that. Now that our very first dungeon is available, Holminster Switch, I will be taking the NPCs with me. This particular dungeon has something very special. It is the only dungeon you actually can use Lena in if you are interested. She will be a DPS, and to activate the NPCs to go with you, you just click on them and say form party. And we are taking Crystal Exarch, Alfino and Alize with us. If you go in here, I really suggest to take Alize with you. The other two are not quite as important in here as Alize. Right, let's go. Also, it's nice if you're a DPS, you get like literally an instant queue. The not so great thing is that the NPCs will not be using AoE attacks, so the dungeon will be relatively slow. To the dungeons, I really liked all the dungeons in Shadowbringers. They all tell a story. They are all designed to be part of the story. but they are not necessarily overly complex. Here you can also see that it's not only humans that get turned, but also animals. And if you actually take the if you have a decent AoE rotation, you actually can pull at least 2 packs at a time with an NPC tank. After this fight for the next dungeon, the tank will be Tancred. Tancred also will have a little special thing going on with another NPC. So it might be useful to bring that NPC along instead of like the twins.
You underestimate me!
Well, looks like that YouTube doesn't like me because I'm recording that over stream. But it tells me it cannot, it needs to buffer. I'm like, yeah, well, that's okay. Anyway, this one, you should know, you already have met this boss. Alize is not happy.
Leave the healing to me. Protect me!
Let's give them a show! You underestimate me!
doesn't sound very fine, doesn't she? Oh well. One particular thing to notice if you're taking NPCs. We're coming, we will help you. They are running. Hopefully they will survive. One thing to notice is that if you take Alize with you, she will always try to use the limit break. Disregard what I said earlier, the Crystal Exile has a problem with 2 packs. Tancred, on the other hand, does not.
God!
This is actually what I really liked about this village story. A lot of the story from Holminster Switch is told through the dungeon. And as you can see, if you look around the environment, the Sin Eaters chasing others, a lot of dead people laying around. It's very devastating. In the background you see the village in flames. Look who we have here. Tesseline, the Forgiven. Unfortunately, she has to die through our hand. And this was really, when I played it the first time, this was probably the very first real shocking moment, that not only had we to watch the transformation, but now then we also had to kill her.
So be it.
Leave the healing to me.
And with that, poor Tesland is at peace. Hopefully. I hope. May she rest in peace. And now we enter the village. And behind the village is a mansion. Oh no, no! Oh, we ran fast enough.
You underestimate me!
And here we are. To vanquish our very first Light Warden. Thank you, Exiles, for letting us know we are close. There they are running. At least we saved some people. 7 to be exact. I would like to point out that I really can appreciate the design for Felia. It's very, you know, angelic but evil angelic style. It's very nice.
Leave the healing to me.
There'll be nothing left of you but a smoking crater!
And with that, we have vanquished our very first Leinwand. Another thing that is actually very nice, at the end of each dungeon, all the NPCs that are with you, or potentially with you, will gather here, and you can, if you approach them, they will have something to say. Thank you for the well done. As in Alizé looking back to Tasleen, and she can't even believe what you just saw. And this is a very dead Leinwand. Alright.
It's releasing its ether! Fall back! We cannot let it touch us! Quickly, my lord, we must withdraw!
That will not be necessary, Captain. Though I appreciate your concern. The eternal light of these creatures has confounded us for nigh on 100 years. For each we have put down, another has risen up in its place, born of the self-same ether relinquished by its predecessor. But now we have a way to contain that corruption. The blessing of light, and the hero who wields it now stands before you. Behold, the monster's power is broken, and the world, twisted by its touch, returns to its rightful form.
It can't be.
What's happening?
It's so beautiful.
The sunless sea. The warrior of darkness has come.
Is that what I think it is?
The night sky, as it should be.
are you people?
You killed a warden, then bathed in its ether as if it were a spring shower, and now the sky? The legends are true. My lord?
How many years have I waited for this moment? For the one possessed of her blessing. For you. You have vanquished the Light Warden of Lakeland, and for the first time in a century, darkness has returned to the mantle of night. Without the ever-present light to sustain them, the Sin Eaters will have no choice but to retreat. Yet our victory is far from complete. Though darkness has fallen here, the other wardens yet bask beneath burning skies, feasting upon what little life remains. Even should it cost me all I have, I would see each and every one of them slain, that this world might be spared from oblivion. Not only for the first, but for the source as well. Save one, and we save the other. But, be that as it may, I concede it was wrong of me to summon you to this fight against your will. I swear, on my life, I will one day atone for that deed, but for the present, I beg you stay and see this fight to its conclusion. Cast down the wardens and restore darkness to the first. On behalf of the first, I offer you my deepest thanks.
I understand there is much at stake here, Exar, but why do you risk yourself so readily? It must have been a dangerous drain on your ether to summon even one person across the rift.
I do it for my people, of course. To give the Crystarium the tomorrow it deserves.
That is true now, yes, but the city had yet to be built when you first called forth the Crystal Tower. I'm simply curious to know what prompted you to commit yourself so completely to this particular course.
There are things which we can ill afford to lose. And I sensed from the first that I had a part to play in preserving them. Forgive me. I fear the events of the day may have taken their toll. Despite appearances, I am an old man. One burdened with many difficult memories, some too painful to recall.
Well then, I'm sorry for pressing you. It's a family failing, I'm afraid.
One which has served us well more often than not. Needless to say, we will continue to fight at your side until the last Sin Eater is defeated.
Come then, my warriors of darkness. Let us gather the surviving villagers and make our way back to the Crystarium.
And with that, we have brought the day and night cycle back to this region, and as you can see, it's fair skies. Let's finish our quest here. And with that, we have our trust parties unlocked. The name originated from Final Fantasy XI, where you have numerous trusts that you always can take with you, which are pretty much every major NPC that you have ever met in that game. So if they would do something like this for this game, would be great. We're taking a break here, and next time we will be going to meet Tancred and his young charge. Have a good one.